Hello everyone, if you're watching this video, I hope that you're here to learn about how to make your take and make kit. We are doing the Glowflake take and make kit today, and hopefully you've picked up a kit at your library. If you haven't, please drop by your library and pick up a kit. If you would like to do this project and you didn't get a kit for whatever reason, a lot of the stuff that we'll be doing today are with things that you have around the house. A few of these things, maybe not so much, but the good news is this project is kind of in two parts. So the first part of it is definitely things that you can find around the house, or most likely. And the second part is a little bit more specialized, but we'll get to that. So let's do an unboxing here. Let's look in our bag of supplies and see what we have. Okay, some of you probably have already opened it, which is fine. This is the instructions. You have one of those. You also should find a cardboard circle inside your kit. And you should find a square of paper, of white paper, just regular paper. If at any point something happens to this piece of paper, or if it's missing from your kit, any piece of paper will do. Here is a piece of tissue paper. This is roughly the same size as the other square. Again, if anything happens with the tissue paper, any thinner paper will do. In fact, really any kind of paper will do. Okay, now we're getting into some more interesting and unusual items. You should find a piece of, it's tape actually is what it is. It's copper tape, and we're going to be using it to create a circuit later on in the project for our light. Speaking of lights, inside here somewhere is, there it is, this guy. He is an LED light, and that is a little piece, so I would recommend putting it back in your bag because we won't be needing it for a while and we don't want it to go missing. It's half of the whole Glowflake, really. It's the glow part. And to power your little LED light, you will need a battery, and they should be in your kit too. If there's anything missing from your kit, you could ask at the library, and they could either replace your kit, or I do have some parts around the office here that I could send to your branch. You can email me at Team AVRL, so Team, T-E-A-M, AVRL, that stands for Annapolis Valley Regional Library, at valleylibrary.ca, and I will send that over to you. Okay, so let's get started. I'm sticking to the table here. Did I show you this yet? This is why we're all here. Okay. Let's start at the beginning. Oh, all of the small parts went back in your bag, right? For later. We're going to remember because we're about to make a lot of little pieces of paper, and it's going to bury some of our things. So we'll need a circle soon, but not quite yet. We're going to start with our pieces of paper. I'm going to start with just the regular white paper, and we're going to be using this to make a snowflake. So probably some of you have made snowflakes before. I will show you how I like to make a snowflake, and you can do it really any way you like. In this whole project, there's a lot of that. So if you'd like to do it a different way, it's fine. It's your snowflake. You do it however you like. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to fold this square in half, and you may notice your square is not a totally perfect square, and that's okay. So what I'm going to do is line it up, fold it in half, putting one edge, matching it up to a corner, and folding it. So my square, or my triangle now, has this extra piece on it. I'm going to actually, you know what, I'm going to cut that off because I have scissors. And I didn't mention that, but there are some things that you'll need for today that aren't in your kit. Scissors will be very helpful, and tape will also be helpful. Glue would be handy, but not necessary, and anything to decorate your Glowflake would be great too. So Yeah, and this is actually, you know what, this is a good tip if you're making your own snowflake from your own paper. Making a square is fairly easy. You just take the edges, fold it to a corner along one edge, and then the extra on the edge is the part that you cut off. And once you've cut that, you will have a perfect square, or fairly close to perfect square. So there, my square is more square now than it was a minute ago. But anybody who has snowflake experience will know that it doesn't totally matter if it's exact, because it's still going to come out great. So the second thing I'm going to do, now that I've got my square folded in half to a triangle, is I'm going to fold this triangle again in half, making a smaller triangle. Okay, now I have a smaller triangle. Now the next step, this is where it gets kind of tricky. I'm going to fold this corner across and down from this centerpiece, like this. Let's see if I can do it. But you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to move the camera so that things will be upside down, but hopefully it will be a little bit easier for everyone to see. How's that? Okay, so now I've got my triangle. I'm going to take one side and fold it from the center down like this. See? This piece is folding over like that. And then I'm matching it on the other side, starting at the top and folding it down. The paper starts to get kind of thick, and it's a little bit tricky to get it exact, but it's okay if it's not exact. You'll see when we're done that you can't go wrong as long as you're fairly close. So this is what we end up with. It kind of looks like a spaceship or like a starship, doesn't it? At this point, we are going to need our trusty scissors, and we're going to cut these two tabs off right across, just like that. I should say too, I know that maybe I'm going a bit quickly here. This is a video, so you can pause and you can go back and watch it later, or if you need to run and get a snack or a pair of scissors or anything else, just pause it. You can come back anytime. Okay, so now we've got ourselves a triangle that looks like this, kind of like a sailboat top, sail, right? Or I don't know, a triangle. This is the snowflake part. So this is where you get to use your creative snipping to make the snowflake. This is also, what's really neat about this is, even though our snowflake, it's not perfect, my folds, this is 1/6 of what will end up being the whole snowflake. And all the cuts that we make in here are going to be repeated around the entire snowflake in symmetry. So that's called radial symmetry, which I thought was kind of cool. I just learned that. So I'm just going to make some snips through here. However I feel like it. You can go pretty crazy here. And if anything goes wrong, you can just get another piece of paper, right? So yeah, I'm gonna make some little snips like that. And also I need to cut, this is important, we need to cut the tip off. So I'm gonna give the tip of my snowflake a snip like that. And you know what? I'm gonna give one more cut just for fun. Okay, so that's that guy. And let's open him up and see what we've got. Okay, look at that. So you can see that the pattern is repeated around the outside. Right? Pretty fun. So, okay, one snowflake down, one to go. I'm going to put that aside. And now I'm going to get out my tissue paper. This one's a little bit trickier because the paper's so thin. But again, it's just paper, and if anything goes wrong, you can always replace it with something else. And maybe you want to do a whole bunch of these. Maybe you want to get a whole bunch of different pieces of paper out and add them to your Glowflake. That's fine too. So once again, I've got the square. This one happens to be a lot more square, so that's fine. I'm going to leave it this time. Fold it in half. You've got a big triangle. Fold that triangle in half again to get a smaller triangle. A little bit trickier because the paper is so thin, right? Okay. And now comes the part where we fold the long corners, starting in the center, dividing our triangle in half to make one wing of our starship, folding the other one down to make the other half. Okay. Is everybody with me? We've got our starship. Don't forget, you can pause if you need to go back or you need to catch up. Now we're going to use our scissors and snip off the back, leaving us with a sailboat sail. And then we are going to snip in there, making some cuts to make our snowflake flaky. And cut this corner off, cut that off, and don't forget to cut the tip off, very top there. Right? Okay. How's everybody doing? It kind of has a Christmas tree kind of look to it, doesn't it? I don't know when you're watching this, but the day that I'm recording this is a very, very snowy day. So it's kind of a fun craft to do on a snowy day. And I guess it might be a fun craft to do in the summer when you're, at that point in the summer where you kind of think fondly of winter. You've had a lot of snow this year in the Annapolis Valley, haven't we? Okay, so I've got now 2 snowflakes. 1, 2. Every kit has a different color of paper. Some of them are darker blue than others. But you could color this, you could paint it, I guess, decorate it, whatever you like. So we're going to put those aside for now, and we're going to move on to the next stage. This is where we get into doing the part with the light, the glow part of our Glowflake. We're going to need the other stuff from our kit, the LED light and the battery first, are the first things we'll need. Also, I should mention, I didn't say this I don't think before, but you will need a pencil or a pen or a crayon or something like that to do some marking on your circle. Okay, so this part you might need some adult help for, but there's going to be 2 phases. There's going to be kind of an easy version and a bit of a trickier version. So, but the first step is the same for both. So what we need to do is poke a hole, 2 holes in the center of this cardboard circle. If you have your LED with you, you can use that to poke through the circle, but you need to be very careful. You don't want to bend the leads. These little spikies are called the leads. And you can see that one is longer than the other. The one that's long is the positive, and the one that's short is the negative, and that's important later. What I have been doing is holding the leads kind of like this, so that there's just a little bit poking out, right? And using the longer one to puncture the holes. You have to be very careful, don't puncture your finger through the other side. And it goes through fairly easy. You need to puncture 2 holes that are roughly the same distance apart as the leads are apart. You probably know why. You can probably guess that it's because we're going to be threading this through the holes that we make. So I've got the 1 hole, and I'm going to make another hole. If that's not working for you, a thumbtack would work, or you could maybe use a pair of sharp scissors, kind of work it back and forth. A sharp pen, maybe, pencil crayon, might be able to poke a hole. Okay, so now we've got our 2 holes in our circle, and we have an LED light with leads on it, one longer than the other. We're going to put those through our holes. So one side of this circle is going to be the front of our Glowflake, and the other one is going to be the back, the behind the scenes part. So feed that all the way through until it's flat, just like that. You have these sticking at the back. Next step is to bend these leads over, and they kind of need to go out, not parallel, just a little bit further apart from each other. And when you bend them, what we want to do is keep them separate from each other. I have mine bent over kind of like that, sticking with the triangle kind of thing that we've had going on so far in this project. One thing that's important now while you're bending is you'll see that the longer one is on one side and the shorter one is the other side. We need to remember which one is which. So the longer one is the positive, and you can mark that with a plus. The negative one is you can mark with a minus, just because you'll see why it's important that we keep them separate. So we've got a plus and a minus, right? Oh, you know what I didn't do is I didn't get out the battery and do a test. We should probably do that. It's not too late, it's okay. So in order to get the LED light to work, we need to line up the positive lead with the positive side on the battery. And you can see on your battery, it probably has a positive, a plus, right on one side. But if it doesn't, there's the top flat kind of cap looking part is the positive, and this side that's kind of a little bit more, it's got kind of bumps on it, is the negative. So what we need to do to test our LED light is put the negative on the negative and bend our positive piece up and touch it onto the top. And as you can see, it works. We could have done that earlier just by sliding the battery in between the two leads. Now if I did it the other way around, if I put positive on negative and negative on positive, nothing happens. See? So that's creating a circuit. And now this is a spot where you could stop. If you're not comfortable with going to the next step, where we start building a circuit and a switch out of copper tape, that's fine. You can stop here. All you'll need to do is just get out some tape. I have some tape here, not your copper tape. That wouldn't work, and I'll explain why in a sec. Just some regular tape, and you can just tape your battery just with your LED like that onto your battery, and we can move on. You can skip the whole next part because the next part's a little bit tricky. I won't lie. Okay, so back to our project here. We've got our leads marked, our battery tested. Now my leads are all bent out of place. It needs to be down kind of flat. You don't want to be bending these back and forth too much because they will snap. Okay, so now that we've got those ready, we need to get out the final piece in our project, the piece that we haven't used yet, and that is our copper tape, our conductive copper tape. This tape is very brittle. It's easy to break. It's actually sticky on one side, just like regular tape. It comes apart really easily, and it's kind of finicky. So we'll see how this goes, but just so you know, it's tricky to work with. So first step, we're going to take about 1 inch of the copper tape and either tear it or cut it. It was probably better to actually use scissors because you don't want to crinkle it up too much. And we're going to take that 1 inch of tape and tape it underneath the positive lead, kind of continuing on in that direction out from where we had it. Being very careful to not touch where the negative one is. They need to be separate at this stage. Okay, so I've got it just like that. See, I've got it kind of pointing out from where I had my lead bent down. Now you can see my lead is not quite touching it. So that's okay. I'm going to take a tiny little piece of the copper tape, just a little guy like this, and I'm going to tape it down over top of the lead, holding the lead down on the copper. Just like so, so that the copper is firmly attached to my lead. Okay? Now the next step, I'm going to take another piece of the tape. We want to leave, make sure you don't run out of tape. We want to leave enough to make the switch part, and you'll see in a sec. So I've got another piece, I don't know, this one's a little bit shorter than an inch, and I'm going to just tape this guy down, right, like this. So I've got the positive and the negative taped down, like so. Kind of being careful to keep it as flat as I can. And okay. So next step is making a switch. I have a bunch of scrap pieces of paper left from my snowflake here, but if you don't, that's fine. If you have your paper bag, that's where we can get a piece of paper, or even on your instructions. We're going to need to cut a piece of paper to make a switch from. And something like that. That might even be too big. We'll come back to that in a second. Because we want to test how everything's going so far first. So we're going to take our battery. Remember which sides you're positive? I actually taped over mine, but I'm going to draw it again on there. I know which one's which. I'm going to drop my battery down, just hold it over there. And I'm going to take the extra copper piece that I still have left, and I'm going to put it across from the back of the battery to the negative side. And it should light up my little glow light. There we go. See, as you can see though, it's kind of tricky, it's finicky, right? You need to get it just in the right spot. So again, once we build the switch, it takes some playing around with to get it just right. Okay, moving on to the switch building part. What we need to do next is take our copper tape that's left and tape it onto a switch. This is the switch we're making. The switch, the tape goes along the paper and around to the back. You have to make sure that it doesn't go back around and touch itself on the other side. And you need to make sure that it's not touching itself anywhere else. So this is what we end up with. We've got a piece of paper, and our copper is attached and goes right around the other side. I bet you didn't know you'd be doing something like this when you woke up this morning, did you? Okay, so back to testing. It takes a lot of testing and trial and error with something like this, which is part of the fun, right? Trying to figure out what the best way is to get it to work. So, will I get it to work? There we go. So that's pretty good. Seems to like being right about there. What will be the best spot? There we go. I like that spot. Okay, so kind of eyeball, you get it lined up so that it's working nicely. Bridging across. I didn't really show you what I was doing there, did I? We're taking the battery and we're dropping it down on the positive strip with the positive side up. And then we're using this other piece to bridge across and complete the circuit. So it's going to be touching the negative and the positive. And what we're going to eventually do is we're going to tape this down tape the battery down, and then this part will be movable and will create a switch. And it will be something that we can push down on and light up our Glowflake. Okay, so it looks like I found a pretty good spot here right now. I'm going to see if I can get some tape, and you might need help from either a grown-up, or a grown-up might need help with somebody with small fingers. That's what I could use. And we're going to tape the battery in place, touching the copper. And we're going to tape the switch down right where we had it. Just like that. So now everything should be in place, and when I lift it up and I push down on the back, I should get my Glowflake lighting up, and I do. Just like that. So now I've built a switch. Now if this part is frustrating or it's not working out for you, you can always go back to the other stage. You could pull all of this apart and just tape the battery down. This kind of looks, this is show business right here. See how clean and tidy on the front it is, and how it's working? It's almost like magic. And then you've got this giant mess in the background, and behind the scenes, behind the curtain. Okay, so this is you know, we're getting too close to the end of our project here. We've got our LED light that lights up, and we've got our snowflake pieces, and now we just have to attach them. So glue would be a good thing to use at this point, but since I don't have any glue here, a glue stick would be great actually. Just put a whole bunch of glue on here and stick your snowflake down. But I'm going to just use tape, as I happen to have tape here in Craftland. So if anybody gets to the end of their Glowflake and is really happy with it, or would like to share it with me how it went, I'd love to see them. Please send me a picture to teamavrl@valleylibrary.ca, or post it on social media, the social media of your choice, and tag us with AVRL Fun or AVRL Library, and we'll see it. You can share it on our Facebook page. It would be really fun to see how it went. And also, if you enjoyed this craft, please tell your library staff that you had fun, and share it with them too. Okay, so there you go. I've got my Glowflake. It lights up. And I made another one earlier too that is right here. He's got more of a blue to him. It's not as dramatic here with the lights on. You know what? Maybe, hold on a second. I'm going to turn the lights off. Okay, I'm back. Let's see. How does this Glowflake look in the dark? What do you think? All right, there it is. There's the Glowflake. Again, you might have to adjust your switch a little bit, but I hope that you had fun. And oh, here's my note. If you're having trouble with your switch, you could just tape it down. You could always add more paper too to make it a taller, glowflakier flake. I think that's it for now. So hold on, I better turn the light on. Okay, I'm back. Thank you very much for coming to the Glowflake Take and Make Kit how-to. I hope you had as much fun as I did, and visit valleylibrary.ca for more kits like this one coming up soon.